Welcome to Digging In. If it's your first time watching, I want to thank you. I hope you enjoy. Today's show is Escape the Rat Race, Living the Good Life in Boca Raton. Listen to these wild numbers. From July 2021 to July of 2022, nearly 444,500 people moved to Florida.
Florida attracted more new residents.
Nearly 34,000 New Yorkers switched out their New York driver's license for a Florida one.
Goldman Sachs may move part of its asset management business from New York City to Florida,
which compared to the previous year was a gain of 185,000. Florida also ranked number one in domestic migration.
Florida received over 2.3 million more people than it lost.
Number two in international migration, number one with the most people moving per day at 1,218. And last, a New York Post headline, April 12th, 2023, which was about 2 weeks ago, the exodus continues as more than 10,000 New Yorkers have moved to Florida in 2023. So where are they going? Well, it's one of the most beautiful places in the country. And so today I have Yvette Drucker, Boca Raton City Councilwoman.
Right, so we have beaches, 49 parks in our city. We have 2 universities.
Who's going to talk with us about why so many people are not just coming to Florida, but they're coming to Boca Raton. So Yvette, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Hi, everyone. So glad you could join us. Real quick, why do people want to come to Boca Raton? Because it's paradise. We live in paradise. It's just a great place to be with a lot of different components. But before we even get into that, I've been in Boca for a little over 20 years. I have a background in like corporate America. And then I had a lot of time in this community in nonprofit work. And of course, a few years ago, I decided to, during the pandemic, I decided to run for office because city council is a nonpartisan. So I help everyone. Everyone needs fire, police, parks, beaches, roads, water, safe drinking water. Your garbage should be picked up. And I wanted to be in a job where I can help people. So I'm a public servant. I've always been and will always be. I was born to serve. So not really a politician, but that's a little bit of my background. I'm a first generation Cuban American. I'm the first minority on the council in 94 years. So that was a big moment in my life and in the history of our city. But I believe that right now we're about 101,000 residents, give or take, which is a huge increase in the last few years. And I believe it's because Boca has everything that a big city has, but in a smaller scale, right? So we have beaches, we have 49 parks in our city, we have 2 universities and a college, we have an airport, we have great schools, we have a great area for economic drivers, like our technology area, which is like brick. And then we have the downtown, which is really moving really fast. And last year, we added the Brightline station, which has been a complete game changer and really put us on the map. And then we're having great sports now with our FAU Owls, who just went to the Final Four. So a lot of things, a really good, exciting time to be in government and to be a part of a city that's growing. So
thank you for answering my first question. I didn't even ask it. You're like a mind reader. I wanted to hear about you. Do me a favor. Jump in real quick to that. When did you come to the... You weren't born here, you said, right?
I was born in Jersey. I was born in Hoboken, New Jersey. First generation. Okay. My parents came to this country in 1959 when Castro took office, took over is a better word. And I moved to Miami where I grew up when I was 6. And then I grew up in Miami. And then in 2002, I came to Boca Raton.
How much of that, like that culture and that heritage, even though you're first generation here, they have a story, and they had a story about coming here. And I'm just going to guess there was probably maybe some tough times, some struggle, like making it happen here. I mean, am I close? Was there? Do you carry some of that with you?
Yeah. So my mother and my father got here when they were like 13 and 14 years old, and they had to go to school and they had to learn the language. And they never went to college. So I'm the first college graduate in my family, and then my sister is the second in terms of my immediate, really from even a little bit farther out too, actually, when I look at my family footprint. And my mother was a cafeteria school worker for almost 38 years. She retired right before COVID. And my dad was an auto mechanic. So obviously my background and my My upbringing has always been humble, like very different than Boca Raton and the life that I've built here and we've lived here, because I am the American dream. I am, like, if you want to do anything, dreams come true. The day that I saw a little check mark next to my name on the TV where I had won an election, I mean, that was a big moment. But yeah, it's part of my footprint. I think it's part of what makes me relatable to a lot of people, that kind of what you see is what you get. Pretty open, give back, always giving back. And my parents are just like very proud of not only the accomplishments, but just I'm very proud of what they were able to do, and always instilled education in us. Like, you have to go to school, you have to go to school. But yeah, I went to Title I school, pretty much my whole life, public school, which Title I means that 99% of the population is on free or reduced lunch. And I was one of those kids. My parents were, now it's called SNAP or WIC. But back then it was food stamps. I was that kid. But I do think that really creates like who you are. Like, that's like the tapestry. Like, that's who I am. And that's why I can help others. I think that's why I've given my life to helping others.
You have lived the American dream. This is going to be a great conversation, because with that as the foundation, like, you are relatable. You are the first generation. You did see your parents have to make it. They had to make it work. And so clearly you're carrying with you like this sense of service. I was curious when you said you're not a politician, you are just here to serve, where that came from. And you just told me that story is brilliant. And it's powerful because so many people still come to this country and they're not sure what's going to happen. They're not sure what the path is. But the point is, if you do the work, if you stay focused and you're committed, whatever that path is, you've done it. You've proven it. Whatever you want to happen can happen, right?
And you can redefine your roles in life. Always evolve, right? Some people just stop evolving, and that's part of their journey. And there are other people that evolve or don't let certain things that set you back, like, define you. So I've always been that person. Like, this is where I'm at now. This is a difference that I'm making today. I don't really plan out like long-term goals. Is that's not the way I do things. I just kind of work my way. Like, I'm a visionary, but I think about like, what is today and how is today going to impact tomorrow? But also just like working on every single day, making it count, making the change, trying to push forward. So that's kind of how I usually, like, have lived my life. And I continue to do those, and especially after COVID, like, I really kind of learned about, you said earlier before we went on the podcast, like pivot and fluid.
So thank you for sharing that, because I think it really does set the stage for who you are. And so, now we all know who we're speaking to. There's a real awesome story behind you. You told us why it's such a great place, but can you just go a little bit deeper? Why? Because people can move from the Northeast or the Midwest to a lot of different places in the country that, I mean, Texas has got benefits and other, but Southeast Florida, especially the Boca Raton area, why are so many people coming here, do you think? It's the combination of work, life, the city's doing great. Like, what do you think?
I think it's like, we say it's like good, better Boca. I think in Boca Raton, you have opportunities. I mean, there's work. I mean, there's work. There's a quality of life, because we really strive on what is the quality of life that we want to offer to our residents. And we have that available here. It's available, between what we have in our downtown and what sometimes we refer to as like the midtown, and all the businesses that are coming here, whether financial institutions or the technology institutions or a lot of the headquarters that are headquartered here. And also just the addition, again, like the Bright Line downtown, we're going to see a lot of redevelopment down there. Yeah. A lot of changes have gone there. Our bigger opportunity really now for me, I always say, because I never say issues, I say opportunities, is that we need more, attainable housing. We need more places for people to live, because we want to continue to save our service, like our service workers. Like, not everybody can afford to live in Boca. So that's one of the things that I think is one of our opportunities. I think we run a really like a great city. We have about 2,000 employees that run the city, 70 departments. We, the council, we're like the mayor and 4 council members. We're really the architects of policy and really understanding what our strategic goals are to absorb this growth while we continue to provide world-class service and not increase taxes. So that's really always like the goal, right? How are we going to do it bigger and better with absorbing the people that are coming? Because when people come, people don't think about this, but like the more people that come into the area, more people go on our water grid, more people use our garbage services. There's more 911 calls. There's more people using our beaches. And those are things that we have to maintain. So that's kind of like the goal. How do you preserve that? And for the most part, people don't even think about that. I think it's part of my own journey is educating people what a city does for you. But local government impacts you more every day than any state or federal government, because we're making decisions and choices for you on a daily basis that impact you and your family and your friends every single day.
And people don't stop to think about that. Like, unless you're involved in municipal or local politics, like, people take for granted that your garbage just gets picked up and that everything just works and the police show up and the fire show up. Like, it's a serious business that you guys are running. And you have to keep that business attractive. Like, now Boca, I love that you said good, better Boca. I've never heard that. Like, I had to write that down. That's a great.
That's from our Office of Economic Development.
I love it. Like, I'm 50 now, right? I've been coming down here for 40 years, right? Boca has always been a great place. There are so many businesses moving here. And I don't know if this is true. There's a lot of major tech corporations coming here. This is going to be the new Silicon Valley. I mean, is that a rumor, or is that? There is an area off of Yamato where the Tri-Rail station is, by the way. And I know people are coming in because that Tri-Rail station, and I'll tell you a little bit about my passion projects and also for the city that I think are going to be interest of you and to the viewers. That whole area break, which is called the Boca Raton Innovation Center. There's a lot of technology there. People are coming there. They're working in that kind of section of the city, and they're using like the Tri-Rail. Like, that's the number one used Tri-Rail station. They're using it to go to work and come back. And there are a lot of financial institutions that are coming here. You know, in the county, there's just a lot of the businesses are coming into the county, and the technology is coming. A lot of those businesses are coming here, and the financial ones as well. Our biggest opportunity is keeping the service works here, like the police and the fire and the teachers and the ones that support, because you need that middle layer to support. And some of those folks are getting priced out. So they're moving into the Treasure Coast. So it's something that we're like. What the Treasure Coast is. So the Treasure Coast is comprised of 4 counties, Palm Beach being one, Martin, Monroe, and Fort Pierce. And so you're going north, right? Yeah, north. Okay. Yeah. With the city council, like, you have all these appointments. They appoint you to different boards. So I sit on a few extra governing boards, and I sit on Treasure Coast. So I'm really familiar on what's going on in all the different counties. It's important for us to know what's going on in your, like, next door, because if not, then you can't understand what you need here, or why we're losing the jobs or the people, or, you know, things like that. So, yeah. You kind of see, like, it's funny. You see shopping centers go up, you see food stores go up, you see these things pop up, and it's like, oh, wow, there must be housing coming, right? And the area you're talking about, which I think is backed by Broken Sound, where the horse is back there. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening back there. And actually, it is somebody from that club who mentioned to me that there were these major corporations, the tech companies coming, Microsoft, Google, like, I don't know who's going back there, but I was just thinking, my God, what that would mean for this area, like how awesome that is. The big thing now is really, and this is like my other thing that I sit on. So I sit on Transportation Planning Agency for the county. It's my passion project for the city. I don't have a background in transportation, but I have learned a lot about transportation and transit and mass transit and getting people off the roads. And the biggest thing with the workforce that's going into this, like our newer workforce that's graduating and going, they want to have the balance. So they want to live and play and work in the same area. And that's why you will see a lot of redevelopment by the Bright Line. They want to be close to the Bright Line. They want to be close to the Tri-Rail. They want to be able to get on the train, get off the train, and not be in their cars. So you're going to see a lot of changes in those areas, because the people will want to move, and they want to be able to live up here and then walk downstairs and then cross the street, and they don't want to be in their cars. 100%. So they want to be off their cars. We're never going to get rid of cars. I mean, it's just not going to happen, but we're going to have more options for people to be able to use more of the transit system, especially in the city, the way that we've built it. And there's a few projects that are going on in the downtown that we just approved in terms of reviewing the streets and the grid, and to see how we make it more mobile, connected. So there's going to be a lot of great things to come in terms of that area as well. When you're referring to downtown, are you talking about like by Meisner Boulevard? Yeah. So the downtown is an area. It's called our CRA. We have a meeting like every other week, 1:30 on Mondays, and that's the CRA, the Community Redevelopment Agency. And that's like a certain section that includes all of the downtown. I mean, there's a lot of cranes in this, guys. A lot of building happening down there. There's a lot of building happening. And I think it's important for the viewers to know. So people saying, oh, these buildings, any project that gets approved, they have up to 5 years to build. So a lot of the projects coming to fruition now is because the demand is there, and now they're going up, right? So the buildings are going up.
So they've been in the queue, they're in the queue, and now they're going up. And there's a demand. There is a demand for more rental.
Tremendous.
People want to move here.
Yeah, for sure.
So you'll see more of that. And then also what you said in terms of like that area of Broken Sound and Yamato, there's a lot of buildings that go, and they're pretty much occupied.
Yeah.
So people want to live here and work here, and
I mean, going back to those stats I shared, I mean, people are coming. I mean, they're coming to Florida, but you and I both know there's a lot of people coming right here.
Yes,
right here.
And again, it's really, how do you manage the growth, right? With common sense development that, we're not just going to throw up. At least I could speak for myself. I can't speak for my colleagues. Like when I approve a project, it's because it makes sense. There's a need. And what people sometimes don't understand is that I know a lot of the projects. You might not ever hear about them because I get presented with things every day that you'll never hear. Sometimes they don't like, I won't, I don't like it. I don't care for it. And it'll just fizzle out. Then people will come.
Plan. I mean, there's a plan. You guys have
we have a plan.
Is there a master plan? There's a master plan that's for 20 years, right? So
yeah, there are 30 years in the downtown, but there is a master plan. And then there's things in the pipeline, and we know about those. And we know about people that'll come here and say, we want to do this. And we're like, I'll be like, that'll never work here. Like, it doesn't even make sense here. So I just think people focus on like, oh, the building's going up. But there's a lot of other preparation that goes behind the scenes in a way.
Yeah. You guys, there's factors. You're thinking about obviously what's best for the community, what's best for people that live here currently. And like, you guys are factoring in every angle. You don't just say no to things. If it really doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. And that's why you're there. People vote you in to make good decisions.
Yes.
You mentioned the Bright Line, and I got to tell you, it's a life changer. Like, I couldn't wait for the station to open up. Jamie is sitting over here is about to wait till you hear this, James. I bought tickets for Saturday to go to Miami to the F1 car race.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to hop on the Bright Line in Boca, and it's like an hour ride. I don't have to drive. It's simple. It's luxury if you want. But even better than that, because I'm a business owner here in Florida as well, I want to expand commerce for myself. I can hop on a train and get from here to West Palm to Orlando, and then down the road, hopefully to the West Coast. Like, we're at the center of an amazing, you mentioned transportation hub, I think, where we can get anywhere, north, south, and it changes the game for people who own businesses here and work here. We can get anywhere without driving.
I'm taking the Bright Line Friday. I take it at least once or twice a week, depending on my schedule, because I do work up for the TPA when I have my transportation meetings, which I have almost every Friday. I take it up. It's such a game changer for just being able to get around, not only bringing people to the city, but being able to, the fact that you can get on the Bright Line and be in West Palm, that I could be there in 21 minutes. Fort Lauderdale is 16.
Right. And you can be productive the whole time.
Miami is like a 50 and then Ventura is like 46. And, I think with transportation, because we were not built, Florida in general, obviously Flagler, the New Yorkers came on Flagler, and they, that was the whole train. And that's why the Northeast people came into Florida. That's a little bit of the history on the train side. And it's a great story, and we can save it for another day. But, the Bright Line, it's the first private, rail system in over almost 100 years. And the gentleman that runs it is fascinating because he is a visionary, and he's put this amazing, thing into play. Obviously, it's not a true commuter rail. It's a luxury rail, right? Because it doesn't run like a tri-rail. It's a different price point. So it kind of serves a different demographic. But I love that we also have the Bright Line station, and the tri-rail here, and you could take the tri-rail. So it's also the mindset. So I take Bright Line to Fort Lauderdale to go to the airport. So I go Boca to Fort Lauderdale and a short Uber, 11 minutes, I think it is, about 11 minutes. And I'm at the airport. That's it. Tri-rail takes.
I don't do that. I got to start doing that.
It's changing your mindset. It's changing your mindset, how you use it. If I have business in Hollywood, I go to Aventura and then I Uber over. And for the tri-rail, it'll take you right into MIA, into Miami International Airport. It literally lives you in the airport. It's like a no-brainer. And who wants to drive to Miami? So I think that you'll see more changes in terms of like using those transits. And in the downtown, we're looking at ways to get people around. That's something that's going to be coming up in our strategic plan sessions that are next week. And then there is, at the county level, there's a plan called the 561 corridor, how to get people west to east.
Please.
So, and one of the areas that they're going to study with this 561 corridor plan is Glades Road. Like, because you have to start with the major arteries first to cross over. There's just a lot coming in terms of transportation that if you don't get behind that, the roads will be too clogged. Nobody's going to want to be in their car for 2 hours. Like, you don't want to do that. So now that we have these two options, I think that it's going to be more utilized and more
100%.
people are going to use it. And especially the people coming, like you said, they're coming from the Northeast. They're used to being on the transit. Like, they're used to taking the subway or taking buses or taking
For sure.
other forms, right? It's like a thing, like it's part of your footprint.
And we're used to traffic.
And you're used to traffic. So I think that the Brightline has been an amazing thing, and it's definitely a game changer for sure. I mean, it's amazing. Right now we have 21 stops a day. So 12 going northbound and 11 going southbound. So when the Orlando station opens, I think we'll see changes. I mean, remember, we don't run the Brightline. It's a private organization or a private company. We have a great partnership with them. So
what we're hearing you talk about and what we're seeing living here is that whereas people used to come down here and it was a destination, it was like people lived here, but it was more of a vacation spot. This is a place to live, to work, and you guys have a vision and you're executing on the vision to get transportation to be more effective and more efficient, to ensure that all the services are growing at the same pace, if not ahead of the population growth. This is a beautiful place. How do you balance the need for the redevelopment with preserving the natural beauty and the resources? How do you keep it together?
we kind of look, the downtown, we know in the downtown, there's just more density because there's like buildings that are, bigger there than in other parts of the city. And there's areas that are just done in the downtown. They're not enough. You can't really build anymore unless you're rebuilding or we just approved gorgeous building last week. Yeah, last week was council. And it's 190 residents. And it was in an area that it just was like alleys were like not great. There's other things, it just made sense. And it's going to be a rental. It's not going to be to buy. So sometimes you need more rental. We've approved like a long-term hotel because we don't have a lot of hotels in the downtown. We have like the Hyatt and maybe that's it.
That's
like
true.
there's not, you have the Boca Raton, more expensive model, and it's a private club.
Right.
So again, you have to really look at what your footprint is and understand like what's going up and understanding what's already in the pipeline. And it doesn't make sense to bring on. And that's the way I look at development in general or even redevelopment. And then adding also the services, like adding more restaurants, adding more cultural sites, adding more things of why do people want to come to Boca Raton? So I like to take the Brightline to Miami and try out new places. Well, I want to make sure that we have a suite of offerings here where people are like, I got to take the Brightline from Miami to Boca because I want to go check out X, Y, and Z. So that's what we're creating now. That's what I'm seeing next. Like, I want like the most happening next thing, like come to Boca to see, whatever the restaurant is. So bringing in more of food and more culture and more things to do. So what's the attraction? And that we'll see as we continue to look at the redevelopment or the addition of things to our already rich kind of area in terms of lifestyle.
So let's say I'm an entrepreneur or I'm a business owner, right? And I'm coming here. It doesn't have to be from out of the area, but I'm going to come into Boca. What's the relationship with businesses and entrepreneurs and the council? Is this a place where it's like it's growing and there's friends and there's like the Chamber of Commerce? Like, what's the relationship?
So our mayor, and I'm not speaking on his behalf, but he's very big on economic and bringing businesses to Boca Raton, and he takes the lead on that with our economic development. So if you're a business and you want to do business in Boca Raton, we have an Office of Economic Development. They help businesses relocate. They help businesses get what the programs are. So we already have a whole department dedicated to that. So we're obviously vested in the business owners. They also, when businesses want to come here, they're looking at a couple of things. They're looking at where are we going to live? Where are our kids going to go to school? And we have, amazing schools, both private and public. And they're looking at transit. A lot of them look at that because they want to know not so much for themselves, but where are my employees going to live and work? So that's like a big question, right? Because you can bring a business, but you have to have the people to work your business. So yeah, we help business owners coming from outside. And then we have another segment of the population that's coming in now that we don't really talk about, but is that international component, the people that are moving. And there is an organization in town called Hispanic Entrepreneurship Initiative. And their goal is to teach people coming from international or South America or even from Miami how to do business locally. How do you get into Boca Raton and bring your business? And they do a lot of work with the universities and training these business owners that don't really understand how to do business in the US or let alone in Boca Raton. So I work with that group often. So
tell me some of the key. That's really interesting. Like, tell me some of the key things that you advise. Like, what are the things you tell people when like they're coming?
Want to move here?
Well, with that specific problem or challenge, right? They need advice, they need guidance. They're not sure what the inner work, how to operate a business here in Boca. And you guys have that group that you just mentioned. Like, what do you tell people?
So we connect them. So I go to events, a lot of events. We get invited to a lot of things to represent our city, and there are different causes that I get behind. So when you meet people, we connect them to, her name is Jessica Del Vecchio. She's a woman that runs the Office of Economic Development, and they set up meetings together. And that's really their job, to try to educate them. They have all the data, all the statistics, and to sit with them and say, these are spaces that are available. Is there Class A space anywhere? Is it being built? Because it's already on the pipeline. Because people want, like, some people want new space, some people want to redo space. It just depends on their needs and what kind of, where they want to be in the city, whether they want to be in the downtown, whether they want to be what we kind of call the midtown, but that's kind of like that area that we were discussing, or the innovation center.
Right.
The midtown's more like town center, and that area. Do they want to be close to the turnpike? Do they want to be, not the turnpike, the 95, or do they want to be close to the Brightline or the Tri-Rail? Like, so they're very equipped to help with that. That is their everyday job. So my job is to connect, is saying, okay, you're interested in doing business here. Let me connect you with XYZ, and they'll give you all the data that they'll help you make those decisions, right? Especially when we're courting business. We also work with the Business Development Board at, and the Economic Council in Palm Beach, because they're a big part of, like, how do you get businesses into Boca? Because sometimes they don't come here, they end up in Palm Beach, which happens, or they end up in the Treasure Coast, or they end up in Broward. I mean, that happens. You know
what I find interesting. So I came down here 4 years ago. I have a business based in New Jersey, but when I came down, I opened up an office here, right in the area. And that was, I guess, during COVID. But now what I'm seeing the past 2 years with so many people moving down here, I'm finding that it's more interesting and it's almost easier to build the business here, because there's so many people coming here. There's so many people that need different types of services. This is actually an unbelievable time, and it's a great location to actually build your business.
Correct.
There's just so many people coming.
And we have a lot of college students. We have FAU, which has a lot of students. I think they're up to 50,000, I heard, and a wait list. And where it used to be a commuter university, now it's like a full-fledged university that's on the map. And we always have Lynn, which has a lot of international students. Lynn is a hub for international and doing great things in their program there. I had the opportunity to be in a panel last week where I spoke at Lynn. And I mean, they're doing amazing things. And you have Palm Beach State College. So you also have a large younger population between like 20 and 25. The statistic that came out recently was that the average age in Boca was 48, which was like, the median age, for the city of Boca Raton was 48 years old, which has, in the old days,
it's going down.
Town, right? Is a sleepy town, not your you hear these quotes in the New York Post, not your grandparents, anymore. It's not. It's definitely changed. I've seen it change before my eyes. I've been here now 20 years. So I've definitely seen it. And I've also seen it in terms of just diversity. There's a lot more different people, you hear different like languages from all over the world, not only like Hispanic, you hear internationally, you hear French, the Canadians come and come here and build business. So it's just interesting how it's changed, and for the better, I think. I feel like it's for the better.
And this is what the buzz is about. This is how we started the conversation. Like, what's going on down here? I don't want to get to the entertainment side of things yet. I have a question about that. It is unbelievable how much is going on and how much there is to do. And like coming from Jersey, actually, we'll go there now. Coming from Jersey, living in Wayne, if I wanted to go out for dinner, I had to like drive to Hoboken, or I had to go to the city.
Right.
But here, like, you could be in Boca. I'm a fan of it, obviously. So you could be in Boca. It doesn't matter what kind of food you want, what kind of experience you want on any given day or night or weekend. You within the city limits can have anything you want, including shows, including music, all sorts of food. So, I mean, how do you even, it's so good now. Like, where's it going from here? Like, is there anything planned, like anything new?
So I think a few things. So we approved a 99-year lease for the Performing Innovation Center Arts. They changed their name a couple of times, but it's called Bradick. So that's going to be out in Meisner, where we're going to have like a whole, like, it's a nonprofit.
That's the theater that's in Meisner right now?
Right now in Meisner, we have the Boca Raton Museum of Art, which is great. And if you guys have not checked it out, they have a great exhibit right now. I think it runs through, I want to say the end of May. So they do a lot of programming. It's a beautiful museum, beautiful, like, a curated shows. So I'm a big supporter of the arts and culture, like arts and, so that's a big one. Our amphitheater, which is Meisner Amphitheater, which is there now, which is at the end of Meisner Park. Our summer concert series is starting. So we bring a lot of entertainment. We do a lot of free programming on Fridays, and then we do ticketed concerts. I know there's like a country coming up, that we have a lot of country artists that come into the area, and those are super, super popular. So like look for those. We also have the studio, which is also in Meisner Park on the other side, where Eddie V's is going to open, the Prime Steakhouse. They have a lot of programming there. It's a lot of fun. It's a small studio, but they have a lot of programming there, which is great. But then the Performance Center of Arts, that's going to be built in the future. I think, between I want to say 2026. Don't quote me, because it has to come before the council, and I don't know where they're at yet, because it's again a nonprofit doing the fundraising. But I think that's going to add more programming, more shows, etc. So what else is out there in terms of food? We have a ton of things coming.
Don't go there yet. Don't go there yet.
Don't go there. That's my favorite part. Yeah, don't go there.
Don't go there yet.
Okay.
Right. A lot of people they'll make assumptions. Well, it's Boca Raton. I can't afford to live there, which first of all is not true. It goes from mega mansions, there's rich and famous, there's all that here, but there's something for everybody. You could have a 1-bedroom apartment if you want, and you don't have to town. You can go out west towards the turnpike. It's not super cheap, but there is something for everybody. I think it's a myth that you can't come to Boca if you're not rich. It's not true, right?
I agree. I will tell you, in the city footprint, so west of the turnpike is not in the city. You're not incorporated. It's a completely different price range. City of Boca, like if you live in the city limits, which is where I live and this is where I govern, it's a little bit of a higher price point for your average apartments and rentals, because it just is. But
you're in the middle of everything.
Can you live in West Boca and come into the city? People do, of course, they come into the city. One of my goals, like I said earlier, I would hope that we would see more attainable housing so people could live in the city and they could work as well here. And I think that you would keep the talent, because my biggest concern is like losing, the people that are fundamentally doing really the heavy lifting, right? Which is like our fire, our police, our teachers, our parks.
They should be able to live here.
Yeah, they need to. And you don't want to lose that, because when you're making decisions to bring your companies here and you're like sending your kids to schools, you want to have the best of the best. You want to have the best teachers, the best leadership. So again, for me, it's so important. And you have to run things like people to work. It's, out of the service industry, right? So that's like the biggest opportunity I see every day. People not getting a little bit boxed out of the pricing, especially in the downtown.
When something's being built, I know in Jersey, I'm used to it. They set aside a certain amount of units that are like lower income, or there has to be a balance. Is it the same thing here when something's being built?
So it's interesting you ask that question. So there was a law that there was just a bill that was just passed. Right now we're in the Florida legislature. It's like running right now till it's Friday. Actually, we run on a 60 days. That's not city. This is all state, and they passed a bill that's going to address affordable housing. So we we're going to have our workshop on Monday. We're going to see how it's going to impact us, because the law goes into effect in January of 2024. So that is going to dictate a lot of what's going to happen around us. So
now, is that because partially, I don't know if it's federal or state, but if the city gets money from the state or from federal, sometimes they kind of hold that over your head by saying, well, you have to have a certain amount of affordable housing if you're going to keep getting the money. Is that at play here?
Well, right now, this law is brand new.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to understand, because we haven't been presented how it's going to impact. So I don't want to speak and not say something that's not correct. I can tell you that it is going to dictate certain things around affordable housing. How that's going to impact us, I don't know yet, because it's going to workshop on Monday. But yes, we're going to see some changes around that. So, and that is a state. There are federal programs that you'll hear about that you do have, that's like rent controlled or certain things like that. We don't have that in Boca Raton. And actually this new law does away with rent control anyways in the entire state. So this is more of a state mandate that now the cities are going to have to adopt and implement. So I don't know what that's going to be like. And also last November in the county, they passed a housing bond initiative. So that's going to also play. That's where you're speaking to the money part. We're going to have to see. That hasn't been all ironed out. So there's going to be, I would think, the biggest topics, in my opinion, in the next year to two are going to be transportation and affordable housing. And those two things go together.
When you talk about the key issues, I mean, as wonderful as things are, everybody has issues, right? So there are challenges that you guys are facing. And my question was going to be, what are the ones you're facing now? And I think the two you just said are the two that would have been your answer.
That's my answer. The opportunities are how to get people on the transit, how to get people to and from work, and then where are they going to live? That's really important, because that's how you get the talent. And where are you going to live, and where are you going to play? Where are you going to go out?
If you're thinking, I want to move to Boca, and they find this interview one day, a month from now, and they're thinking about, well, I'm leaving the area that I'm in because because these challenges aren't being addressed and they haven't been addressed, and it's way overdeveloped where I'm coming from. So I want to consider moving to Boca. What are they planning? What are they doing? You guys are already on it. You have a plan. You're making changes, which we can see. You live here. You can see things are happening. It's progressive. It's exciting. And you guys are doing the right things. Actually, it feels like being here, it feels like things are being done correctly. It doesn't even feel like it's politics. It feels like you guys are just making good decisions.
We're very fortunate because I sit on a couple, besides those two that I mentioned, I sit on another 4 appointments in the state. And it's interesting to see how other cities work. You just have to open the page. You could just look at other cities and you could Google how their councils work. Right. We're in a very, I'm so honored to sit on this council because we are collaborative and we don't always agree, which is a good thing. Because if you agree on everything, then that's not effective. It's
also nonpartisan, correct?
It's a nonpartisan.
That makes a big difference, don't you think?
That is the biggest thing why I ran for local government versus anything else. Because like I said at the beginning of the podcast is I'm here to help everyone because we all need the same things fundamentally. I'm not dealing with so many social issues. I'm dealing with like police, fire, parks and beaches and, our schools and collaboration. But we have a council that's very, very collegiate. We work well together. Even when we don't, we work well together. We have great respect for each other. We listen to each other. We kind of don't always agree, which I think is important. When we agree, we agree. When we don't, we do it in a respectful manner. And I believe that because of that leadership that we have, we're able to push forward so well. And I see other cities and that doesn't happen. It doesn't because I speak to other colleagues of mine in other cities and they're like, no, that's not happening here. Or they fight. They spend the whole meeting
nothing happens.
Things.
They just stand still. They don't make decisions, and the decisions may not be for the right reasons. And that's why I love the fact that this isn't a matter of a party you're in. It's actually a very cool form of government. And it's the only potential outcome for any conversation has to be what's best for the city.
For the greater good of the community.
Has to be.
Yeah.
By design. When
I take a vote, I'm like, how is this going to impact this community today, tomorrow, and years to come when I'm not on the dais or I'm not, I'm not here. So I always think of this is how I look at it. This is why I listen so much. The number one thing in this job is just listening, because that's what you're really doing. You're listening to people on both sides and staff and just input. So how am I going to gather all this data to make the best decision for the 100,000 people that I represent?
That's right.
And we're not by district. And then when I sit on other boards, like the TPA, I'm voting for 1.5 million people now. So now our 21 of us represent 39 municipalities. There's 39 cities in the county, in Palm Beach County. So we get 21 seats at the TPA. So not every city has a seat at the table. But then again, I'm there making decisions, not only for my city, but for my county. So I'm impacting 1.5 million people. So again, it's always how do you make those decisions that are impacting so many people? I take it very seriously. And I believe a lot of my colleagues on the dais take it as serious as I do.
Wow. When you say that, it's very powerful when thinking about the group of you that have the impact that you have. And I'm just thinking back to how the conversation started, when you talked about your mom and dad and listening to everything you're doing. If they didn't come here, the impact you're having now wouldn't exist. Sometimes you connect those dots. It's wow.
Yeah. And it's funny because they don't even understand the, impact, but because of them is why I'm able to make this impact, because they taught me what it is to do hard work. And being in government, it's hard. This is a hard job. This is not a job for everybody. This is a job that you're literally on public display all day, every day.
Everything you say, everything you do,
everything you do. And you're also exposing your family, where you're exposing my children and you're exposing your 100%. Friends. It's not for everyone, although I highly encourage people to run for office, especially women. More representation.
You need a thick skin.
But you need to have not only a thick skin, but you have to be doing it for the right reasons. 100%. So it's not self-serving for me, it's self-giving. So that's who I am. That's what I've done. And I've continued. And 2.5 years into it, I'm a better leader. I'm a better government because I've learned a lot more, but I'm still the same. I've stayed true to exactly what I started. I'm not letting this job change the fundamental results, which is helping people.
Well, your experience is giving you the wisdom to make the decisions. Every decision is coming from a stronger and stronger place of experience, which is, I think, what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, 100%.
Better and better for the people that are on the receiving end of those decisions. Talking about food, there's a lot of places, and every one of them is great. But if you had to pick a place to go on a Saturday night for dinner, where would you go? In Boca.
So for me, I'm a big New York Prime. I love New York Prime. By the way, I'm not a steak eater. I stopped eating. I just kind of love the old school vibe, and like I just like it there. I like it there. But there's so many other places. Like that's one of my favorites, New York Prime. If I'm going downtown, you'll find me a lot of times at Max's Grill, which is an old staple. Kapow. I absolutely love Kapow, the new Kapow that moved there. You'll see me at Lock Bar. I eat out everywhere. I go everywhere. So, and I leave the city as well, obviously, because I want to know what's out there. But we have a lot of good things coming in now. So we have Restaurant Row, which is going to have 4 new restaurants. El Camino Boca, a restaurant by the name of Habibi, which is like Mediterranean Israeli. Nice. They're going to have Fiola's, which is an Italian restaurant out of DC. Potbelly Sushi. So that's going in Restaurant Row by
combo right there
by Boca Town Center.
Yeah. Wait, where is it? Right by the mall?
Right by the mall, so like right on across from Town Center, across from Rocco's, that where the Rocco's is.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's
the Restaurant Row is there, and then in the downtown, we have obviously Eddie V's is opening in Meisner Park. Another restaurant called Penelope's, which is a New Orleans inspired. I think they said it was like a speakeasy, and then the Dubliner used to be.
Where's that going?
That's where the old Kapow was.
Okay, I don't know where that is.
So on Meisner, so Kapow, like on Meisner Park, just in the park.
Oh, it's in Meisner Park. Okay, yeah.
So Penelope's is going to be where the old Kapow was. Across from there, where the Dubliner was, they're putting a place called Shaker and Pie, which is a pizza parlor. Nice. What else is opening in there? Kapow just opened the bigger space, which is really nice. That's great. Just a lot of new, like lots of new foods. I know Town Center Circle got a place. Maggie, maybe it's like Maddie McFly. I think it's from the Northeast. I don't know.
You gave me the best answer when you said New York Prime. I was just there for the first time 2 weeks ago because it's impossible to get in without like a reservation. Well, you can walk in, but I have to wait 2 months. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I usually just get a reservation if I know I'm going. They're opening Gallagher's across from, like in that area as well as a steakhouse.
Well, Eben Louis, I know, is across the street. That's my second favorite place.
Second favorite. Across from Eben Louis, they're going to open this Gallagher's, which I hear really good things about. I've never been to the one in New York.
Everybody, this is it down here. It's like there's so much food, and we can probably talk for an hour about all the great places there are to eat. I love that thank you for sharing some of the new places. That's exciting.
Yeah, and I like just all different options, but if people ask me, it's like that's the place that I take. Like we go there like for my children's celebration and birthdays. We usually go there, and I think because it's been around so long, and I've been here now for 20 years, it feels like home, and I like it there. But there's so many new places, and I'm really excited about. And I try to support as much as I can. And openings, we just got the new Chinese restaurant, Red Pine, which is also right next to Restaurant Row. Very good. So. I'm a fan of Tab 42. I mean, I go everywhere. I'm a big foodie. And I also, like I said, I leave the city so that you know what you have. When people come and they're like, we're going to put this shopping center, this is going to be one of the anchor restaurants. I'm like, well, we need that. We don't have that. Right. Again, why are people going to come here? So yeah, there's a lot of great food in the downtown. I just heard about a new place called Omakase. Somebody was raving about it, Royal Palm Place. And I just had the opportunity. I went to a dinner on Saturday where the Rebel House used to be, that he turned it into Alley Cat, which is like the sushi restaurant. I haven't been to the new one, but I did. I'm dying to go. So if you ever need food recommendations, you can.
I'll just text you. Where should I go tonight?
Just text me, because that's usually people do. And for any listening out there, if they're planning on moving to Boca or the questions about anything, school or anything, if I don't know the answer, I could connect you to the right person. And
just for the record, you're pretty quick, because I think it was last night. I was like, oh, let me just connect with her. And you pretty quick.
I connect. I follow. It goes back to your narrative. Like I was very big on I want to put my messaging out, and I want to be accessible to the people. It's good and bad, because then it's then you're too accessible. Sundays are my days where I'm not on the grid as much because I take that time for my family and for myself. But yeah, I respond as quickly as possible.
So you might live here, or you may just come here on vacation, but what's the one hidden gem that people don't really know about that they should check out? Putting you on the spot. Something that only a local would know about.
I think
maybe a spot on the beach, or some kind of special.
I like Gumbo Limbo. I know it's going to sound weird, but we have a really beautiful program that we're revamping right now for our sea turtles, and we do a beautiful job. So if you're coming here, whether you have children or not, or just visiting, I really like, first of all, we have so many parks. We have 49 parks. We have our new parks that are down by the Wildflower. And then Gumbo Limbo is like a place where I I think it's special. And when we do our turtle releases, which come a couple times a year, and we go out there, it's just special to be so close to the water and to have these endangered species that we're like taking care of on our beaches. I don't know. It sounds kind of nerdy, but that's kind of what I would recommend if you're visiting. Obviously, spend time on the beach. There's golf in Boca. I mean, there's everything. We didn't even touch golf. There's like anything and everything you want. But I think Gumbo Limbo is like a kind of special little place that if you haven't gone, you should go check out. The sea turtles are not there right now. They're going to be brought back in a few months or weeks. I forget what they said, but it's a special place. So definitely check that out.
And you know what we didn't talk about, and we're not going to have time today, but you're right. Golf. We didn't talk about the fact that the water boards.
Pickleball. I mean, we have pickleballs in all of our in most of our parks, and we have a municipal golf course.
Which is ridiculous for a public course.
It's a public course, and we're redoing it, and we're adding tons of amenities there. We have, our parks are great. I mean, again, why wouldn't you want to be? It's good, better Boca. This is the place to be. It's paradise. I started with that. I stand by that.
Yvette, this is why I chose this topic, and this is why we wanted to have you on, because what's available here and what the life is like here, this isn't an advertisement for Boca. This is just, people talk about it. People wonder about it. It's a topic. There's so many people coming here. It just makes sense to have you on conversation and for people to hear, like, from somebody who's right in the middle of what's happening, what is happening and why you should be here. And I'm finished with, you can choose to live anywhere you want. I know that sounds like, oh yeah, I can live wherever I want, but I spent 46 years in New Jersey and I never really left. And it wasn't until I left to come live here that I realized the quality of life, how much better it can be. And if you really decide you want to move someplace, you do your due diligence, you try to figure it out, and you can make it work if you want to. There is always a way. We live and work feeling like we're on vacation. That's what it's like to be here.
Every day is a holiday.
Every day is a holiday. And even in the worst of weather, hurricanes or whatever, it's still awesome here. And the vibe is just unbelievable. And everything that Yvette, that you shared, it all just validates why this is a great spot. There's other spots in the state to go, but this is an awesome spot. So thank you for coming on and sharing.
Thank you. Like I said, I love Boca Raton. I love my job. I am a public servant for life. There's no place I'd rather be. A good chunk of my time, I've raised my family here, and in my work, if you follow me, now you're going to follow me. I always say the best is yet to come, and I'll close out on that. That's my hashtag. I hashtag it with everything because I truly believe the best is yet to come, not only for the city, but just for this area. So I hope that if you decide to make the move here, or if you already live here, that you become part of our community, because we also have a very giving community, which makes it even more special, and that you give back in your own little way to preserve this little piece of paradise that we live in.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story. How can people find you?
I have two emails because I have a personal so I'll give you my work email because then I could just flip it if it's something. So it's drucker@myboca.us. And so my cell is 561-213-9025. Those are all my city contacts, and you can email me directly there. Please note it's public record. So anything you email me or text me becomes a public record. If you want my personal information, I can be like DM through Facebook, Yvette Drucker, Instagram, Yvette Drucker. So I'm on Twitter. I think it's Drucker_Yvette, and I'm on LinkedIn.
Be humble, hustle, and do the work.